Hi everybody, Jeff the Stupid Idiot here with a 13-minute video on replacing the faucet. Hopefully there are some tricks and things you'll see or learn from this so that you don't make the mistakes I've made over the years. Enjoy, please remember to share, like, subscribe, all those things. I don't know what all those things mean, but here we go. Thank you.
Well, we've been in this house for a few months now and decided it was time to correct some of this ugly stuff that's going on here. By the way, anytime you work on plumbing, if you have these old type valves, you touch them, they're gonna leak. This house is 20 years old, so as suspected, as soon as I adjusted those the other day, and then I put this under the valve and came back the next day and it was wet, so it was dripping and leaking. We're going to replace that today. And here's the setup. We got parts. Already dropped in the new fixture, but we got to get all that hooked up and changed out, so here we go. Public service announcement. These quarter turn valves are the only way to go. This is the type we're going to be using, and fortunately it would appear that these are threaded, so I'm not going to have to sweat the copper, but obviously after we're done we've got some holes to fill that were never taken care of properly, but getting started. Okay, fun fact, we figured out why the plunger wasn't going up and down, because when they installed it they never cut the shaft on that, and it's hitting not only the valve, but it's hitting the wall. So we'll be cutting that shorter and fixing that as part of this process. Okay, so we have the large nut loose. Used a screwdriver to push the rubber down, and then we push this up, and this literally just unscrews, which is kind of hard to do with one hand, but I have a knee. So anyways, this just unscrews, and once you get it up high enough and take the lever off of here, which is still stuck apparently, because as demonstrated earlier, there isn't enough room in the wall to do this. Okay. So once that's out, that will unscrew. You need to clean all that up and then have the plumber's putty standing by to make a better seal on the new piece going in. Well, the opening there is now cleaned. By the way, this is a, what is it, a resin material. So you really want to make sure you don't use something like steel wool to clean that. You'll scratch it up really good and maybe stain it. And then we took the new piece here and cut that about 1.5 inches shorter and filed it so there's no sharp edges that anybody's going to get cut on. Now we'll proceed to putting the new drain in and go from there. I just realized this is the new one. Probably why it looks a little cleaner. By the way, you see that washer in there? Make sure that that's in there, because they do fall out on some models, and if that falls out when you put the ball in there like so, it's gonna leak. So anyways, something to watch out. Just another quickie: if you live in a cold climate and leave your plumbing supplies outside, well, not outside, but in our shop where it'll freeze thoroughly, the plumber's putty will crust, and you've got to get that crust off and then dig down to the soft stuff underneath before you can use that. So anyways, okay, probably some overkill, but I made a worm by rolling the plumber's putty in my hand to make a worm out of it, and then wrapped it around there. It's way overkill, but when I place it down in here, I'm just gonna squash it down and then trim it out, because it's going to come squirting out the sides. But it just I'd rather have too much than not enough and have it dripping past anything. So anyways, next step. Wanted to make mention of the fact that you have a hard washer underneath this rubber seal, and that's for good reason, because if you don't, like on the old one here, as you start to tighten this nut up against the bottom of the sink under here, as you start to tighten it up against that, the rubber will actually bind, and you might not get a real good centered washer, if you will. So by having that hard plastic washer on there, it makes the seal move evenly up the shaft and makes it a lot easier. Okay, as you start to tighten this up, what's going to be happening on top is the plumber's putty is going to start squirting out the sides, and once it's fully seated, then you just trim the putty out of the way. It's not like a caulking or a silicone that hardens. It stays flexible, but it's waterproofing it. So anyways, after I finish tightening this down, then I'll come back and trim this out so it's nice and clean. And I got most of it out already, but a little bit more to clean. When I'm all done, I'll go back around and get the rest of this, but that's pretty much all of it for right now. And the piece underneath is nice and tight, maybe over tight, but you just have to be careful not to break or strip the plastic. Okay, this part can be just a little bit tricky. You just want to make sure that when you're putting this in, that down below you have the bar lined up, and you want to get it through that hole right there. If you get underneath it, then this is going to lift out. So you have to, and actually I think we want it turned like this. So anyways, as you put it down near the hole, you can feel there. So I'm in, and it won't come out. So that's how you do that part. Okay, this part can be just a little bit tricky. You want to get this part way on, and then turn this so that it's not going to be rubbing on anything, and then line up the hole that you want to use. Put that on there. Hopefully you can see all this. And then you want this clip to get on the back side of it as well. And then once you've squeezed that together, you can adjust it. So now it's locked on. Hopefully, again, you can see that right there. So that's ready to go. And then if you want, you can trim that off as well so it doesn't get in the way. By the way, when you're loosening up these hoses, you're going to have some water that drips. But what you want to do is hold that down and then open the valve, and the water will run out, which I can't do with two hands, and I don't have my vest on, so we'll see what happens here. But hopefully you saw that. So now we're not going to make a mess. Now these valves, depending on how long they've been on there, they can be tough, and it's hard to get leverage in there. But one of the easiest ways I found is to just put these two together so that you could just muscle it with one hand, and then you can break it loose like that, rather than having to get a couple of big old wrenches in there and channel locks and all of that. So anyways, there's a trick to loosen it up, and now I'll get the smaller wrench in there and get these apart. By the way, trying to get this old fitting off here can be a little bit of a challenge. So you want to maybe, I usually just put a channel lock on there and just try to loosen it up real easy like. Sometimes I sand the end of the copper pipe first so it slides off easier, but this can be a bear. You definitely do not want to try to reuse it. You want to use the the new one that comes with the valve for sure. And that's what the new one should look like. It actually came off pretty easy, no damage. Okay, the new valves are installed. They're currently off, which is probably a good thing, until we turn the water back on and make sure that they don't leak. But that will be the next step, and then we'll start talking about the plumbing pieces here. And I'm sick of smelling sewer gas already, so I want to hurry up. Okay, Jody's on speaker with us. She's turning the water back on.
It's on.
Fingers are crossed. So far, so good. Nothing's leaking. Okay, we'll reconnect everything. Okay, Jody turned the water back on and everything is connected. The valves are open and we have no leaks. Now we will do the paper towel in the bowl trick afterward to make sure that there's no drips that we miss that appear later, but as it is right now, they look good. So we're going to move on to the plumbing kit for the drain, which is this. By the way, important safety tip. So these kits come with washers in them. Make sure you use the washer that came with the kit and not one of the old ones, because these are some of the different types. There's actually at least one other type as well, and it's really easy to get them mixed up when you're working on this stuff and use the wrong one. And if you do use the wrong one, you will have leaks, and you don't want uh-oh. Remember that part earlier I said don't lose that? Now it's dirty, so that's the old one. Whew. Okay, installation is complete. Let's do the test. I do have safety glasses on. Yes. Okay, the water flowing there. Stopper works. And now I just want to say this thing, absolutely hate it. I hate the look of it. I hate the functionality of it. But this sink and the plumbing was not installed in alignment when they built it. And it's original, but they never lined it up. So anyways, I don't have a solution at this time. What I need to do is cut that piece up there shorter and use a different type of arrangement. Maybe pull this out further and see if I can get it to line up. But even best case scenario, it's off and I can't reach the way it is. Good news is, I'm looking here. I've got no leaks anywhere. And I'll put the paper towel in there after I clean that out, leave it under here for a few days. Project complete.